Apple has just released the iPhone 14 series, and they are truly amazing devices, but I wanted to take a look back and see if I could get an old iPhone that was still functional. I was able to find a used iPhone 5 that still works and it is in a good condition. So this is the iPhone 5 10 years later. The first thing that I noticed was the size and the weight. The iPhone 5 is small and light, and it feels tiny even compared to the 6.1-inch iPhones. It is actually fascinating that even in 2012 Apple was using premium materials on their devices. At the time, most of the Android phones were made entirely of plastic, but not the iPhone 5. This phone has aluminum frames just like the new iPhone 14, and its back is made of glass on top and bottom with aluminum on the middle. Honestly, it still feels premium, but since it is so tiny it gets lost in my hand. This unit is used and it has some marks, but considering it is a 10-year-old iPhone, I am happy with its condition. When it comes to the display, we finally see the differences between old and new iPhones. The iPhone 5 has a 4-inch LCD display that isn't even 720p. When we look it from the front, it just looks old. It is nowhere near as sharp compared to the new iPhones, and it has a very dim display. The big forehead and chin perfectly show us the difference between phones then and phones now. Even in 2012, the display of the iPhone 5 wasn't that good, but this didn't stop Apple to give us phones with the same display technology even in 2022. Another area where the iPhone 5 lags behind is the software support. The latest version that this phone supports is iOS 10, released in 2016. This phone has been working with the same OS for 6 years, and if you ask me, it is a miracle that it still works. It can still do basic tasks, but when opening apps it is very slow. It can also handle some light games, but playing is very difficult since the screen is tiny, and most of the third-party apps don't even support this version anymore. The thing that annoyed me the most was the keyboard. Since this is a very narrow phone, the keyset displays are so tiny I couldn't even type. The iPhone 5 has 16GB of storage and 1GB of RAM. And even though these numbers are ridiculous now, back then this was the standard. When we look at the cameras, the iPhone 5 has two of them, an 8-megapixel camera on the back and a 1.2-megapixel camera on the front. Just as you'd expect, pictures taken with these cameras are terrible, especially those taken with the front camera. It's funny since I really liked pictures taken with the front camera of the iPhone 5 back in 2013. The difference between newer iPhones and this one is just light years. Let me know if you want me to do a camera comparison with the iPhone 14 and see what difference 10 years make. Worse than pictures in this phone are the videos. With the main camera it can record up to 1080p, and on the front it is limited at 720p, and the videos it records are just awful. When it comes to features, the iPhone 5 has one that has been removed from every iPhone since 2016. This feature is the headphone jack, which is gone but never forgotten. Besides the headphone jack, this phone has no other features. No Touch ID, no stereo speakers, no wireless charging, basically nothing. Of course I am not complaining, since these are features we gained through the years. When I got this phone I was sure that it would also suck with battery life, and I was right. The iPhone 5 can barely last me an hour or two, and that without even doing almost anything. This phone, however, has two things in common with the iPhone 14 Pro. First is the lightning port, which is terrible, and second it is the mute switch, which is amazing that Apple is still keeping it. So what are my thoughts for the iPhone 5, and is it still usable in 2022? Well, the answer is no. This phone is only good to hold it, and to remind ourselves what we had before and what we have now. Like I said earlier, it can maybe do basic things, but the battery of this phone has degraded a lot and you won't be settled. It is, however, an old relic, and it kind of makes me nostalgic for the time I was using one of them as a daily driver. If you did enjoy this video, a thumbs up would be appreciated, and if you want me to do another review with an old device, just let me know in the comment section below which phone do you want me to review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.